All that I know is they'll get older, older. So let us dance this side away. Feel the air get thinner. I'm standing in a blurry dream. No one else can see us. So let us dance this side away. About to leave. Already packing. Come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions, we'll get away. This is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free, let's go, let's be free, be free. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche, we're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow, we can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free.
How are you doing? Welcome to a Wednesday Lunch and Learn right here on the Yarnspirations Facebook page and the MarlyBird YouTube channel. I am so happy to have you guys here. How are we doing? It is Wednesday. Can you believe it's Wednesday? It does not feel like Wednesday to me. Like I'm just like, is it Friday yet? No. I have been working nonstop all week, preparing for a Christmas in July stocking make-along that I'm hosting on my website. And I mean, I've been putting in some long hours. So I'm really just, the days have just flown by for me right now. So it's been crazy. It's so many of you here. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. Marie and Janet and Elaine and Aida, hi honey, and Heather and Nicole, Alicia, Margaret, Cindy, Jojo, Beth, Joanne, Elaine, Deborah. Oh my gosh. Hi guys. I am so happy to have you here. All right. So we are going to talk about the Lacy pineapple shawl. Now, here's the thing with the Lacy pineapple shawl. How many of you remember when I first designed this shawl and released it when I was the spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns? Show of hands. How many people remember that? And then how many of you have possibly watched my video right here on the MarlyBird YouTube channel for the Lacy pineapple shawl? I mean, it's super intense. It goes deep, dives into everything. Like it's awesome, right? Okay. So this shawl, hi, Shelly. This shawl has been so popular that this year Yarnspirations came to me and they're like, hey, Marly, I know that you used Red Heart, Heart and Soul when you made that shawl. We actually would like you to remake the shawl using the Peyton's Croy sock yarn. And I was like, really? Like, you're cool with that? Like, that's okay with you? And they were like, yeah, we want to showcase it in, a yarn that we have available now. We want to put the instructions in the format of Yarn Inspirations and re-release the shawl. And I was like, well, that's awesome. Like, that really makes me so happy. So that's what they did, you guys. That's what they did. So they have the sample that I had remade for this shawl. And if you click the link to the pattern, which is in the video description box, guys. So this is the pattern right here. I think I need to add that link to the YouTube box. I will do that after the whole thing is over. I will add a link to this pattern to the YouTube. Thank you, Yarn Inspirations. They're just all over it. So I know that that's hard to write that out, but if you're on YouTube and you want to find that, there's the pattern. It's right there. Oh, Marie, I made this twice. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I'm so excited. It was first off, you guys, you have heard me, if you've been around at all, you've heard me gush about the Yarn Inspirations design team. I think they're amazing. I know how hard it is to do what they're doing at the level that they're doing it and the amount of work that goes into what they're doing. Like, it is extreme. So I have 100% wonderful feelings and gratitude and appreciation for everything they do. So whenever they ask me to design something, I get very, very sort of verklempt. I'm just like, they want me to design something, right? But then for them to look at one of my designs and say, hey, this is a great design, let's remake this and so that we can promote it some more, that's even more, like, that's super special to me. So that makes this just even more exciting for me. So I'm just like, it's just pretty cool. All right, so let me see if I can add my extra camera in here. I forgot to do that before I went live. You think with all the time I have, the startup music really is so that way I get a chance to get my thoughts in order and get everything ready to go before we get ready to go live. And my camera isn't wanting to work here. And so you would think I'd have more than enough time to get it all worked out, but see if it turns on again. In the meantime, a lot of you are saying hello still. Oh, you love my Argyle sweater. This pattern, you guys, this is actually free on my website. If you want to check it out, it's an Argyle sweater. This was made using my yarn, Chic Sheep. I had a yarn with Red Heart there for a while. So it's a merino wool yarn that is absolutely fantastic. But this is the Argyle Chic sweater. It's free on my website. You could absolutely get this. And I know it looks really complicated, but just with a little bit of the intarsia skills that I provide with Ann Burke right here on the MarlyBird YouTube channel, you absolutely can make this piece. Ann made this. So I'm wearing it. I thought it looked really good with my pink dress. So I was like, this is what we're going to do today. All right. So I have the camera working now. I'll stop wasting time here. Let's see. The camera's working. I got lights on. So we have the pattern here. You have this pattern. I'm going to get to the pattern here in just a minute. Let's take a look at what makes the Lacy pineapple shawl a Lacy pineapple shawl. And I'll tell you guys kind of the story behind the shawl. How about that? When I was talking to Red Heart about doing various designs, I had told them that I really wanted them to have a shawl design using some very lightweight yarn that wasn't a cotton yarn. And it's not that I don't like cotton, it's just that it's just not something I typically wear, right? So this was made out of sock yarn. And if you're at all in the knitting world, especially on Ravelry or the crochet world, there are a lot of shawls made using sock yarn, but it doesn't seem to be that there are a lot of crochet shawls made using sock yarn. I mean, there's more now than there used to be. So I decided I wanted to make a crochet shawl using sock yarn. And at the time I had just done a video for the sidewalk shawl. How many of you remember the sidewalk shawl? That was like a super craze shawl using a pineapple stitch. And so I was like, you know what? Why don't we make a Lacy type shawl with the sock weight yarn and make a pineapple shawl? So I did up a swatch and they fell in love with it, just like you do, right? And they were like, yes, let's do that. And so hence the Lacy pineapple shawl was made. So this was made out of the Heart and Soul sock yarn, but as I mentioned, it has been remade with the Peyton's Croy sock yarn, which comes in like variegated colors, striped colors, solid colors, so many colors you could choose from and have some fun with it. And it's just such a pretty piece, whether you do it in more of a variegated color, like very variegated. This one is variegated, but it's more hues or tones of blue. It really looks beautiful, and it's a wonderful piece, especially as this time of year we're looking for pieces that work over summer dresses, or maybe you're looking for mother of the bride pieces, or even like bridesmaid shawls or different pieces that way. It's just a really great piece. It is made starting from the center of the wingspan, right? Start here, and you work back and forth in this direction. So you go back and forth, back and forth. And as you keep repeating the repeats, you'll get different size shawls, right? Like you can stop whenever you want, essentially. But the more repeats you do, obviously, you're going to have a longer wingspan. And it finishes at the end of one of the pineapples and at the start of one of the others. Now, Red doesn't do a whole lot with beads and stuff. And if you were watching my my live yesterday about hairpin lace, I talked about how adding beads to a bottom of a hairpin lace shawl actually will add weight and give some nice stretch to the shawl to make it look a little bit more lacy and open. And so I'm going to mention that even here, I debated whether doing a final round and doing like some added beads, like chain and crochet beads to this would be very pretty to add some weight and depth to it, because there are so many chains here that it would not be a difficult thing just to pre-string some beads. And as you're doing these chains between the big groups of stitches, you could add some beads and add some weight and add some razzle dazzle to your shawl. So I love it. Jet, if you take a look at the video description, you'll notice that there is a link to the pattern. This yarn, the yarn that this is made out of is a sock yarn. It is a nylon and wool blend yarn, but you could make it out of a cotton, you could make it out of a bamboo, you could make it out of an acrylic, you can make it out of a silk. I mean, sky's the limit. You really could do this in anything you want. Now, I did use sock yarn, but you could use a worsted weight yarn if you want a more big, dramatic type piece. Okay, so this, let's kind of space this out. Can you guys see that? I mean, how pretty. It looks way more complicated than it really is. It looks way more complicated than it really is, right? Because it's just chains and double crochets. All right, Elaine is asking, but all sock weight. This is sock weight. All of these were done in sock weight, but you don't have to do sock weight. You could absolutely do different weights. You could do all sorts of stuff. With this. I mean, you could even, if you wanted to, you could grab Unforgettable. This is from yesterday's hairpin lace class. And you could do this shawl with this yarn. It's going to have a completely different look, but you could do it. Absolutely. The link to the pattern has been provided in the comments. It's also in the video description. You'll see it's a bit.ly link. So we'll get to that. All right. So this, you start here. And as you work your repeats, you can see the pineapples, they all form as you increase. So it really increases out and looks great, right? Let's take a look at it in one of the variegated colors. And this one, here's the great thing. When I made this for Red Heart, you'll notice that the old Red Heart pattern has all three of these shawls as individual patterns. And they're really all the same pattern. They're all just different lengths. This is actually the shortest one. This one here, but they're all just different lengths, different amounts of repeats. So depending on what you do, it's all the same shawl. It's just different repeats. But this one here, I loved the way this looked. If I remember correctly, my assistant, Caitlin, made this one. And I love how this uses a sock yarn that is it's a variegated. It is not a self-striping, but because the variegated colors are just really, they're tonal, they're shades of each other, it's shades of blue. You really get some fun pops of the dark blue, but the light blue really just takes the center stage, and you get a really great denim type look to a piece, this would be a great little accessory to, you know, a very casual evening out with some jeans, maybe a cropped pair of shorts or something. Like, it's just really super cute. And again, it's not a difficult thing to do because they're just double crochets and chains. Yeah, you guys like that? Hi, Stacy. Hi, Stacy. Nicole, she says we need more patterns with sock yarn. I agree. More crochet patterns with sock yarn. I absolutely agree. Okay, so we have the pattern right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the view up so that we're looking at the pattern on screen so it's easier for you guys to look. But before I do that, let's go ahead and just flip through here. This is the shawl made out of the Peyton's Croy yarn. Okay, so if you're wondering what it looks like, we chose like this very beautiful saltwater blue color. It's gorgeous. My contract crocheter Tammy made this and she did an outstanding job. She used an F hook, which is a 3.75. You could use a bigger hook and get like even more drapey loose type stitches if you wanted to. Don't think that because it's a small yarn, you have to use a super small hook. You don't. You can use any size hook you want to get the look you want, the drape that you want for sure. All the abbreviations, basic measurements and such that you need are all right here. Of course, there are written instructions, and you'll notice that there's a highlight where it talks about the markers. The marker is going to be so important for you to use it to really identify the center spine of your shawl and keep track of where you are. So make sure you use those markers. I know I say markers all the time, but I really do mean it here. This is one of the best parts of this pattern. It has a crochet chart with it, and so we can follow along with the chart. And that's what I really want to look at today as we're looking at this lunch and learn. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? All right, let me get the view going on. Share screen. And is it that one? There we are. All right. So let's take that one off and here we go. Oh, this is so pretty. So many of you here. Hi. So many of you are just like, I can't wait to get this pattern. Elaine says that using the unforgettable seems like that's a really good idea. Okay, so this is the pattern. The link is in the video description box, or it has been listed in the comments a couple times, so you can grab that if you want. And as I was saying, these are all the instructions. Everything is good there. We're going to pay attention right down here. We're going to take a look at this. We're going to take a look at the chart part, okay? Because you guys know I love a good chart. We've talked about charts several times here on these Lunch and Learns, but I want to really discuss this because there's a couple things here you might not be fully aware of, okay? The star, right? This star, that indicates a marker. When I tell you markers are very important in this piece, I mean it because it will just help you understand where you are as you're making the sample. Okay. So when you start, like I mentioned, you start right down here in the center of the wingspan, right? You send the center at the top and you work your way down towards the tip of the shawl. So as you're reading this and you work back and forth, wherever you see a red star, that indicates you're definitely going to put a stitch marker there that you will move up as you work each row. Okay, as you work each row, you'll move those stitch markers up. Now, the great thing about the stitch marker here in the center is it helps you find that center spine, right? It kind of gives you that idea as you're working across your shawl, you have your center spine, and then one side mirrors the other, right? So you can kind of in your head think about, okay, so I just did all this. Now I'm essentially reversing it and going so that it mirrors each other on this side. At least in my mind, that's how it works for me. But the stitch markers over here on the outside, these are so important because they will help you maintain a nice straight line along the wingspan of your piece. And it will really help you understand where those stitches go and to make sure you have all of your stitches in the right place. Okay. So make sure you're using those stitch markers. Now, like I mentioned, this shawl looks way more complicated than it is. It is made up of double crochets, chains, and single crochets. I mean, that's it, you guys. How many of you can do a single crochet? How many of you can do a double crochet? And how many of you can do chains? right? You can do all that. You can do all of these stitches. It's just a matter of making sure you put them in the right place, which is why the chart is so helpful, because it allows you to visually see where stitches are going to go. And I know that, especially for me, sometimes reading where a stitch will go is a lot more complicated than like just seeing on here, oh, look, so if I'm looking right here, I'm going to put that double, double, chain, chain, double, double, which we know over here is a shell. We're going to put that shell all right there in that chain 2 space, right? We don't have to overthink it. We don't have to be like, okay, but wait, there's 3 chains there. There's 3 chains there too. So where are the chains? What chain? No, it's really easy. We can see exactly how things all line up. So if you dive into this pattern and literally just take it row by row, don't overthink. Don't try and think ahead about where things are. Just put the stitches where they go. You will get such a beautiful piece with minimal amount of complicated stitches, but your finished sample will be stunning. Okay. Any questions so far? I'm gonna come over here and look at your questions. The name of the pattern, Sweet Hue's design, is the Lacy Pineapple Crochet Shawl. Lacy Pineapple Crochet Shawl. Janet says she could do those stitches in 3rd grade. Yeah, of course, right? So this shawl, as far as yarn amounts and such, I want to talk about this is what I want to talk about right now. I want to talk about yarn amounts, and I want to talk about the importance of blocking. Okay. I want to talk about yarn amounts and the importance of blocking. So this shawl, the one that is shown in the sample, used 5 balls of yarn, 5 balls of the Peyton's Croy sock yarn. Okay. If you're looking to get it in, like yardage wise, it says 105 yards, takes 105 yards. How do I say this? Sorry, let me blow my nose real quick. You want to make sure as you're making this shawl that you are fully aware that you will, at the end of the shawl, when it's all done, you're going to put it in a sink of water. Okay. Put it in a sink of water, add a little bit of soap. It could be a little bit of Tide. It could be a little bit of wool wash. It could be, my favorite wool wash is Eucalyptus. It could be a little bit of that. Whatever it is, just put a little bit of soap in there and some water. And what you're going to do is, as this is in the sink, you're going to just squish like this. Don't wring it. Just like you're squishing the shawl in the sink, just to get the soap suds in there and to get the water fully in there. And then just let it sit. Let it sit for like 30 minutes. Okay. Just let it sit there. Then you're going to go ahead, drain the water out, and then you'll squish your shawl again to try and squish out as much water as possible. You can, at that point, even rinse it if you want. You can turn on your faucet and squish and rinse, whatever it is. Okay. Turn off your faucet, squish out as much water as you can. Side note, I really like to use a salad spinner. So if I've squished it as much as I can, I will then put it in a salad spinner, not one that I keep in my kitchen. I have one that I keep downstairs just for this purpose. And I will use the salad spinner, when you push on it and it gets out even more water, okay? So once I've gotten out as much water as I can physically, I then will put it on a towel and wrap it up like a burrito. Okay, just to get even more water out. Okay, so now it's as dry as I could possibly get it. It's at that point you want to either have blocking mats or have an extra bed that you aren't going to use for a little while. You could pin it out on, or even just some towels. Okay, not in the sun. Do not do this to where like it's direct sunlight shining on the yarn, because you never know. And this is for all yarns. This is not like for Peyton's Croy or anything. You never know how the yarn is going to react with direct sunlight as it's drying. I've learned that the hard way. So you do not want to do this where like you're putting it out in the sun and direct sunlight. It could discolor your whole piece. So you want to take your now almost dry shawl, right? It's damp. And you want to stretch it out so that all of those lace stitches that you've just done, you want to stretch it out so they're nice and spaced out, okay? Because right off the hook, your shawl is not going to look like this. It's going to look like kind of a crumpled up mess. It's not going to be looking like this, okay? This has been blocked, and that's why it looks like it's so open and lacy, all right? So you're going to pin it out, stretch it out as much as you want those stitches to stretch out. My friend Kristen Omdahl, she always says, stretch it until it can't stretch anymore. I do that for some things. For most things, I don't. I stretch it to the part where I feel like that's a beautiful garment. Pin it down with some T-pins and let it dry. You can put a fan on it if you want. You're just going to let it dry. You're going to just experience the beauty of blocking at this point. So I highly recommend taking a picture before you do blocking and a picture after, because once it's dry and you unpin it, it's going to come out and the stitches are going to be so beautifully spaced out, and it's going to have this beautiful drape to it. I mean, look at that drape. It's not going to look like it's the same shawl that came off of your hook. So making sure that you block this shawl is vital. Okay. It's going to really just take, it's going to take your shawl from like a 2 to a 10. Like, it's just going to make it look amazing. So it's so important that you block. If you need help with blocking, I do have videos for blocking with tips and such right here on the MarlyBird YouTube channel. Just look up wet blocking, crochet wet blocking, and I will show you all sorts of things that you can learn. But you absolutely want to make sure you block this pattern. Okay, pretty good. Let's see here. Amelia, could you write here the name and yarn amounts of the yarn, please? Amelia, all of that information is in the pattern. So rather than writing it out and possibly making a mistake, I highly recommend like clicking the link for the pattern. And when you go there, everything you need, it's all right here in the pattern. Okay, right here. All the information you need is right there in the pattern. So you will have it available to you. It's the easiest way to do that. Frizz, salad spinner. I can't take credit for it. I learned when I first learned to knit and crochet, a friend of mine actually did it. And I was like, that is amazing. And so I do it all the time now. All right, guys, what do you think? What do you think of this beautiful shawl pattern? I mean, I hope you love it. I think it's really awesome. As far as if you need extra help on how to make this pattern, I have videos for it right here on the YouTube channel. So you can check that out for sure and get more detailed step-by-step, let's make this shawl together type videos. But this is so pretty. I'm so happy and so honored that the Yarnspirations team asked me to remake this shawl, and I hope you guys like it. It's a great opportunity for you to go out and grab that sock yarn. I know sometimes you'll find it on sale. You could always look at yarnspirations.com to find out like the different colors and such that they have. It's a wonderful piece, and it's great for summer, spring, fall, winter. It's one of those pieces that I throw on around my neck, and I always get compliments on it. All right. So that's it. Whoops. That's it for today's Lunch and Learn. I hope you guys had fun. It was more of a, let me show you this shawl. Let me talk to you about this pattern and talk to you a little bit about the crochet chart. It's a fun pattern. And if you noticed in the video description, there's also a link to a fun collection of patterns that Yarnspirations has put together. So if you're looking for other really great crochet patterns, go check those out. Yesterday, I did a Lunch and Learn on how to do hairpin lace. So if you're interested in that, check out the live I did yesterday on YouTube or on the Red Heart Facebook page. Those are both great. All right, guys, that's it for me. I will see you again next time. Bye, guys.